Good afternoon, West Ham fans. Russ on the West Ham Network. Hope you're safe and well. It's time for some lovely Hammers headlines. Let's get in. As I said, Hammers Headlines Sensation with the KUMB.com, boys. 3 stories as per usual. And we're starting to gear up for Monday. West Ham can't ruin our weekend because we play on Monday. In what could be a pivotal game for West Ham and for Julian Lopetegui. We've got coming over the weekend. We've got Ross Twiddell from Cultaholic. He's a massive Newcastle fan. He's going to be doing an Oppo preview of us and playing the latest round of the patent pending player Pictionary. And then we've got next week. Yes, we've got Newcastle. We've got a very special My Hammers 11 next week. Very special. And hopefully you'll enjoy that. So that's something to look forward to. Even if we don't beat Newcastle, we know we've got a nice My Hammers 11 coming up. Another ex-player on the channel. But yes, let's talk about some rumours and stuff like that. Let's talk about the manager situation. Now, this goes without saying. We know we've had reports from the likes of Jacob Steinberg that, we're entering these 2 games which are pivotal. I don't think so. I think it's fair to say could be. They are pivotal to Julian Lopetegui's reign at West Ham. It's thought that 2 defeats would pretty much guarantee we would have a new head coach in charge by the time we play Leicester City, where obviously we'd welcome back Mohamed Kudus, but Lucas Paqueta will not be playing. Well, I don't think he's be available due to the Brazilian hearing. There's even reports that even if we have a poor match against Newcastle and a heavy defeat, that could be enough to force their hand and replace Julian Lopetegui as the West Ham head coach. Now, according to Talk Sports, it claims that West Ham have chosen their man as secret talks were held with his successor, and that man apparently is Edin Terzic. Now, it's been claimed that, according to TalkSport, but also according to Florian Peltenberg, who we know is very close to Tim Steindl, that Terzic has been put on standby to replace Lopetegui. A club insider suggested that Tim Steindl had briefed Florian Peltenberg about that, and it seems to have maybe some substance to that information. We know that there was very much a behind-the-scenes series of meetings with the West Ham hierarchy in terms of succession plans based on eventualities over the next couple of games. Now, that's been reiterated by TalkSport journalist Alex Crook and also Jim White. And we know that Jim White has close contacts with David Sullivan. So you've got, as I said, Lopetegui is getting it both ends. He's been spit roasted by this Terzic story from behind, so to speak, in terms of Tim Steindl, and in front in terms of David Sullivan via the contacts. We believe that Terzic is open to the job, and many believe the final proof of that arrival this week, the man behind, one of the most enjoyable seasons West Ham fans have had for many years in that farewell season at the Bowling. He's also just turned down the Roma job. Well, he turned down the Roma job before Claudio Ranieri got it, in a belief that the West Ham job is coming up very, very soon. But again, we shall wait and see. Obviously, this is dependent on the results. Football is a results-based business. But yeah, I put this to Ross, the Newcastle fan, and he basically said, "Well, we'll get J-Lo sacked for you if you want." So they're obviously confident ahead of Monday. Obviously, Monday comes up, but we are looking ahead. We are looking forward, and we know there's a number of pieces in terms of chess pieces of the squad moving in and moving out. We know the likes of Guerrero Rodriguez ideally would like to go back home to La Liga. We've got a question mark on Nicholas Füllkrug, and we've got several players coming to the end of their contracts in the summer, so the club may decide to sell now rather than them lose nothing or lose 4-0, get nothing for them in the summer. And lots of maybe Vladimir Sufel and that what. Now, one player that we're looking to potentially bring in is the Sunderland midfielder Jobe Bellingham. And Sunderland are bracing themselves for bids of around £20 million from the likes of West Ham and Borussia Dortmund. According to the Daily Mirror, they said that Dortmund are looking to sign the England 21-year-old after obviously signing their brother Jude in 2019. And the Hammers also shown interest in the 19-year-old alongside the likes of Crystal Palace as well, but could now be beaten to the punch by Dortmund. Again, rolling it forward, one of the main sort of what's the word? One of the main players or pawns in that whole Jude Bellingham deal would have been Terzic, I believe. So maybe it's 2 and 2 together makes 4, or 2 and 2 together makes 5. We don't know. We know there's a lack of creativity in the midfield, in the Central Park at West Ham. Paqueta's been off song, which is understandable with everything he has going on in his private life. Carlos Soler's failed to make an impact really. Rodriguez isn't the box to box midfielder. He's a CDM. He's more of a Busquets type player. Alvarez has been in and out of the side through suspension and injury. So we have seen the likes of James McAtee, Ibrahim Mazza as well from Hertha Berlin. And it does seem that there's clearly a role. The three of them and Jobe as well. The three of them are young, energetic, slightly different maybe, Jobe compared to McAtee in terms of their sort of physicality as well. Jobe's a bit more physical, but it's that young energy which we need in midfield. To be honest, we've got a lad already for him. To be honest, in Freddie Potts, I honestly would say maybe Freddie hasn't got that sort of. He's more of a CDM, but he can drive forward. Think of him, if you put Flynn Downs in that position, I think Freddie was a little bit more to give. But it does seem that we're looking at bringing someone in. Obviously, Freddie's in the middle of a season-long loan with Portsmouth. He's doing very well for them as well. So it's going to be interesting to see. Clearly, West Ham, I think, could probably offer him more first-team opportunities than Dortmund, for example. But it's probably dependent about who is going to be in the dugout, in terms of that, to be honest. But again, we shall see what happens. We shall see. One player from Sunderland who's probably not going to sign for us is the Sunderland starlet, Chris Rigg, because he is basically put out a mandate that the next club he goes to will want to be or will have to be playing in European competitions. And obviously, we're not on track to qualify for any European football next year. The Hammers are believed to be one of the Premier League outfits interested in the 17-year-old. However, it is a relatively pointless endeavour as Rigg will only entertain proposals from sides competing in Europe. That was made clear yesterday in various newspaper sources. Rigg's established himself as a history maker for Sunderland. He's the youngest ever outfield player for them. And arguably destined for the Premier League. Whether it be in the North East or any of the other interested parties is up to debate, but certainly not at West Ham unless there's a dramatic upturn in form, which means we could be pushing for the European spots heading into the new year. The likes of Man United and various other sides are interested in Rigg. But again, the argument could be there could be more opportunity to get into the first team at West Ham compared to others. Upon the athletics table of academy minutes played this Premier League season, West Ham are rock bottom. So maybe not the case in all honesty, but where someone like Man United, I think top. But again, Man United, I imagine that may include Johnny Evans in that because technically he was an academy player, which seems a bit of a falsity. But anyway, and that's it, my friends. That is it, my friends. Thank you very, very much for your time as per usual. Don't forget to check out neesamarabrand.com. I can never do that totally in time. In terms of moving the screen, don't forget to check out neesamarabrand.com for latest news, reviews, and opinions. We'll start doing the previews and stuff like that going into the game on Monday. Obviously, we'll have the watch along, the review show, and then we'll have a very good My Hammers 11 next week. Probably might come out Wednesday or Thursday next week. So something to look forward to before we start the preview for the Arsenal game. Now, apparently, we have a 20-game run without any international sort of stops. That makes sense. So it is every week, unless we get locked out of the FA Cup early, I think, as well. So, which is more than possible knowing us. Anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, and come on, you bloody irons. Irons!